Q&A. So I posted a video a couple weeks ago, not a couple weeks, a couple days ago, a week ago, about leaving your questions for me for Q&A. We hit 50,000 subscribers. It's super incredible. I appreciate everyone who watches the videos and supports me. I love YouTube. I feel like I was raised on YouTube. All of my creative endeavors and origin stories of doing artwork are from YouTube. I found it by myself and I was inspired to try it, and that slowly built up into what I have now. So I thank everyone. I'm very appreciative and I love to make these videos. I'm very passionate about it, and it ain't gonna stop. So we're gonna start scrolling through these comments on the videos. Okay, so start off with an interesting comment. Kanan Bruschetti, sorry if I botch all of these names, asks, which do you like better, graffiti and like mural work or painting on canvas? And then also beer or whiskey? Thanks for the comment, thanks for the question. I'm gonna go with beer, first of all. And then second, murals or canvas work. It's funny because my channel started out with a lot of graffiti and murals. Like if you go back like the first 60 or 70 videos, and I love that. But more recently, I've been doing a lot more canvas work and I'm really into it. And I feel like you could get a little more intimate, and that's just where I've been at right now. So I'm gonna say canvas work with my stencil projects and oil paintings. Right under that one, we got another great comment that a lot of people asked, is there any time you feel uninspired or unmotivated to create? How do you deal with such times? So creative block, a question people ask all the time. I have my fingers in a lot of different styles and mediums. Oil painting, big spray paint murals, you know, canvas work, acrylic, watercolor, traditional drawing. So I switch around all those so much that I don't really get bored often, which I feel lucky that I like to do all those things. But in terms of what to paint or what to draw, I like to go back into old sketchbooks. I have like 6 or 7 super old sketchbooks, and I like to flip through those pages, and you know, sometimes an idea will spark by looking at older past artworks of myself. Here's an interesting one. I can't pronounce this name. Nagin, sorry. Do you believe more in talent or practice? This is a very triggering question actually, because I have a lot to say on it. Is there basic talent? Sure, yes, but it's all practice in my opinion. The classic line is people like, I can't even draw a stick figure. How did you learn to do that? I could never do that. And I just tell people the same thing. I'm like, if you drew as much as I did or practiced painting as much as I did for the last 5-6 years that I have practiced, I think you would be at the same level that I am at. I think you can learn anything if you put enough time into it. And if people disagree, that's totally cool. Alex Dennis asks, what is another passion of yours other than art? Your work is awesome, by the way. Thank you. Much love, Alex. Another passion of mine is actually similar, videography, cinematography. I'm a huge movie nerd, like blockbuster movies. I love science fiction. I also love sci-fi books like The Lord of the Rings. I'm reading the Mistborn series right now by Brandon Sanderson. So I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to sci-fi stuff, but also, you know, I love videography, and that's why I do heavy editing on the videos and try to make it all nice. I love the kind of directorial perspective and viewpoint. So if that answers your question, there you go. I love everything to do with video. This is a funny one. Max Neves comments, should I still continue making my artwork even if I'm not quote unquote in the zone? I actually replied to him saying 90% of painting and drawing is outside of the zone, so yes. And I think I do say that in some of my videos. I'm in the zone. I just say that because I'm super hyped up, and sometimes I just am so excited, and I'm also super focused and I'm ready and I'm in the zone, and you know, that's a good thing to be in, of course, in sports and anything, taking a test, whatever. But you know, a lot of drawing and painting is actually not very glamorous. It takes a lot of time to sit down and do the work, and sometimes it doesn't go according to plan. So I said 90% of the time you're making art, you're not in the zone. So you have to certainly grind through those times you're not, which is a large percentage of it. Skit asks, which I bet a bunch of people were probably wondering, do you smoke weed? The answer is yes, I did for years. In the last 6 months, hardly at all. That's just where I am in my life. If you're interested in that, there you go. Gabe asks, does your friend JT make the beats that play in your videos? I wish. You should all go follow him on Instagram. He's like a rock star. He plays for a super amazing artist, Chelsea Cutler, and they travel all around the country in Europe. But you should DM him on Instagram saying, make more beats for Sam, for SLEW. He definitely does, and we have a bunch of videos together, but that would be funny if you did that. All right, now I'm gonna go to the community page. There's a lot of similar comments. We're gonna get to those bigger, similar themed ones towards the end of the video. 123 Andrea says, can you make a video about the filming process in terms of what kind of cameras and equipment you use, as well as filming techniques? Yeah, like I said in that other question, I love all the camera stuff. I'm a camera nerd. I'm a videography nerd, you know, lighting, everything to do with videos and editing. So if people really wanna see that, I doubt a lot of people do, I can make a video about it, you bet. If you weren't pursuing art, what else would you be doing? Kelly asks. That's a great question. I haven't really thought about that. You know, I don't want to sound cliche or dramatic, but the most consistent thing I've ever done in my life since a young age was do creative projects and actually make YouTube videos. I used to make fingerboarding videos, modern warfare videos, Nerf gun videos, graffiti videos. I had another graffiti channel. I had a bunch of random YouTube channels. And that's like the most consistent thing I've done since like middle school to now. Painting and drawing only in the more recent 5-6 years, but it's all I've ever really done and all I've, you know, devoted my kind of like authentic passion is those two things, art and videos. So it kind of makes sense that this is what I'm trying to do, because I don't really have, you know, the capacity to try other things, because this is what I love to do. Maybe, I have really no idea. I don't have a good answer for that. I'm really sorry. I can't even think of one thing. I played squash in high school. If anyone knows what squash is. A Museum Art asks, are you very spiritual or religious? Pretty much no to both. I was raised in a non-religious household. Spirituality is a pretty tricky thing. I don't consider myself very spiritual. I did actually happen to go to a Buddhist university in Boulder, Colorado for a whole year, but I don't consider myself Buddhist at all. I just went for a unique experience and I learned a lot, and it was very experiential, but kind of a medium no to both of those. Here's a very thoughtful comment. Ben Parkinson, tell us about your tats. Do you done any gallery shows or plan to? More about color choices like blue and yellow, orange color, wheel opposites thingy. Do you have any interest in Japanese woodblock printing at all? Your stencils have some parallels to me. Would you make a cheapish high volume print series to sell to the masses like a version of your Girl Flower story? Great channel, looking forward to more. Thanks for the great comment. I'll try to answer a couple of these. My tattoos, pretty simple. They're my painting projects. I really, really love my paintings that I make. They're like my children. I say that, but I'm pretty serious, and like I really love them. I have SLEW right here and a sword, and I did these myself. I have a tattoo kit, a tattoo gun actually right over here. I'm not gonna whip it out, but those are some tattoos if you're curious about that. Colors, that's a great question. I bounce around everything. For a while, I was really into yellow, blue, pink. More recently, I do everything, but here's a weird thing about color. I like to use less saturated colors now. I mean, all my canvases, my stencil projects are very saturated, you could say, and very poppy, but I actually like I'm trying to lower the saturation, if that makes sense. Little tidbit. Big Stinky Pete. Any sculpting videos in the future? Wow, that's a triggering comment because I love sculpting. I love sculpture. When I was in Italy, in Rome, just the most amazing sculptures. Not that I would do marble sculpting, but you know, clay sculpting, you could do little figurines. It certainly interests me, certainly. Also casting. You know, making a clay model, sculpting it, and then casting it in like bronze or something. Oh, I'm definitely gonna do that one day. It's a dream of mine, but probably not anytime soon. Wooks1, can you touch your toes? I think I can. I'm pretty flexible. I do yoga a decent amount, not that much, but I love stretching because it feels good. A lot of people ask about weed and doing drugs for inspiration. I don't do any of that for inspiration. I'm pretty inspired spontaneously, and I have my kind of world of characters that inspires me, so constantly making new characters to my little world, and just, you know, that's kind of the inspiration where it comes from. So drugs, no, I don't use that for inspiration. This is a cool comment. Chubby asks, if you were to put together an 80-20 curriculum for learning what you do, how would that look like? 80-20, if you're not familiar, is the idea that 20% of something is responsible for 80% of the outcome. In essence, the most important 20% to focus on. Cheers. Cool question. I've never heard of the 80-20. So 20%, the most important 20% to focus on for my style artwork. Oh, it's hard. I'm thinking of bigger themed things. This is gonna sound cheesy, but you know, a bunch of other questions actually were like, how do you finish artwork? I always start and I can never finish. So my advice in the 20% that's the most important for all of my success is perseverance. and is not giving up, and is, even if it's not gonna turn out how you want it, or it's not gonna be a good painting, go the whole distance. Put in all the effort, hold yourself to the highest standard for the whole process. And by the end, you'll have something that you said, oh, I gave it my all, I didn't take shortcuts, and this is the final thing. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's successful or not, you have that. I actually think about that all the time when I'm doing my stencil projects or other things, and it helps me to be more serious and persevere. A lot of these questions are like, how do you master realism, or how do you become a professional artist like you? I'm certainly not a master, not close, probably will never be. You know, I have very high standards for myself, and I look up to the greats and the greatest illustrators, or the greatest, you know, contemporary street artists, or the greatest oil painters. And so for me, looking up to the very top of the professional realms of the categories, I consider myself a T-ball player, you know, where they're in the MLB or something. So I think a lot of beginner artists watch my videos, and that's terrific. And I do, you know, lend a hand in my videos, kind of tend to the beginner, I think, and I do that on purpose. You know, so I don't consider myself a master, and I consider myself a practitioner, and always trying to learn, and I'm always trying to get better, and I never mean to sound like some super professional that knows what he's talking about, because I can only give advice, the things I know and the things I do, so take it all with a grain of salt. Oh, great one. Make One David, do you have any notable artists that inspired your style? Also, what's your favorite breakfast cereal? Favorite breakfast cereal, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Fruity Pebbles, Honey Bunches of Oats. So I love this question, and there's 100 million artists nowadays. It's so easy to follow artists on Instagram, really quick off the jump. James Jean, Guys from a Different Planet, he's so incredibly talented. And like the stuff he makes is something that I exactly love, you know, in the exact replication of things I love or would want to paint. James Jean. David Cho is another one. Cleon Peterson, these are like contemporary street art. I love Cause, another huge contemporary artist, but a lot of these guys started off with graffiti. Oil painters, Cesar Santos on YouTube has amazing videos. Andrew Tischler on YouTube, amazing videos. Kipto 1000, amazing videos, amazing artists. I love their videos. Graffiti artist Rhyme from MSK, he actually invited me to his studio after I DM'd him, and he was super generous, and he's one of the, you know, most OG graffiti writers from MSK, and also does amazing canvas work, like some of the most amazing canvas work I've seen. Pose from MSK, who goes by Jordan Nickel as like a fine artist. He's in Chicago, I believe. Tender J on Instagram. Amazing, just amazing work. I can keep going on. There's a countless amount thanks to Instagram, but those are a few for you. Here's a great rapid fire question. Natasha, what art or arts inspire you? Are you still living with your mom? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you smoke weed? Do you drink? Have you ever sculpted? Lime green or fluorescent blue? Oak, the feeling after a hot shower? Coffee, do you like animals or even camping? Did you grow up watching Roly Poly Oly? You're 24, just wait till you're 25. Love these questions, we'll go down the list. What kind of arts inspire you? I just mentioned that with my artists. Are you still living with your mom? Yes, I live at home and I love my mom and some of my sisters. Do you have a girlfriend? No. Do you smoke weed? Yes, I did for years and years. Now, hardly, not at all anymore. Do you drink? I do drink occasionally with my friends. Have you ever sculpted? Not really, in the traditional marble sense. No. Little clay? Yes. Lime green or fluorescent blue? I'm gonna go with fluorescent blue. I don't use green a lot. In oil painting I do, because you desaturate colors and there's green in skin tones, I think, but in like my canvases, I stay away from green for some reason. Oak, question mark? I don't know what that means. The feeling after a hot shower. Really good. I actually like ending showers freezing cold because it wakes me up and my skin feels nice. Coffee, I used to drink it, not anymore. Sometimes I'll have a Red Bull, occasionally in the studio. But I'm actually a big tea guy. In the winter, I love black tea with some caffeine. I love tea. Do you like animals or even camping? Love them both. I have a lab. I used to have more labs, Labrador dogs. I love camping. Like I said, I was in Boulder in school. I don't know if I said that yet, but yeah, I've camped in Moab, through the West Coast. Love camping. Did you grow up watching Roly Poly Oly? Yes, I do remember that when I was younger. Don't really remember much, but it's the weird squares and circle robot people. That's a great question. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about the 40% of questions people ask of all the 300 comments from the video and the community post. Like 40 or even half of them were all of these same things I'm gonna put into 4 categories. The first one is schooling. Did I go to art school? What does my schooling look like, the history, and how does that kind of affect my artwork and where I am now? The second is like, what am I inspired by? How do I find inspiration? And also, how do I develop a creative style or my own artistic style? 3 is money, which I don't like to talk about. How much do I charge for paintings? How do I get commission work? How do I find clients? How much does a mural, how much do I charge for murals? So we'll talk a little about that. And the last one I always get, everyone DMs me this also on this video. How do I get better at drawing? I wanna be like you. Like, I'm just a beginner, I like to draw, but how do I get better? So we'll do these 4 real quick. School. I graduated high school, went to Denver University for a semester. I went to Boulder for a year. I wasn't taking art classes there. I was painting and drawing a little on my own, but not very seriously. I went home from school because, the classic university wasn't really for me. And I worked at a restaurant for a year and a half, and that's where I saved up money to buy and renovate this space with JT. And I really went down the art path on my own. I was doing, more of these improvised faces, and I was gaining more experience with painting and being in a studio, but I was still kind of very beginning out. And then after 2 years of that, or a year and a half, I applied to Parsons, the new school in New York City. It's a terrific design school in downtown right by Union Square. And I was a fine arts major there for 1 semester. And I didn't use a paintbrush or pencil at all while I was there. That's why I left. It really wasn't for me. I met great friends and I actually learned a lot, but I wasn't doing what I wanted, and it was very expensive and a lot of time. It was conception theory. I was writing essays and I was hardly drawing or painting. And at that point in my life, I was about 22. I knew what I wanted. I wanted to paint and draw and progress in those realms and that craft. So I left there in the spring, had the summer here again, and then I applied and took classes at an atelier in New York City, the Students Art League, which is on 57th and 7th, and I was there for about 8-9 months. And an atelier, if you don't know, is a traditional painting, drawing, sculpting studio where they teach, but it's also a studio where they have live models and people go and paint all ages. It's not a university. You don't get graded. There's no exams. It's a month-to-month classes, and you kind of show up and it's all up to you to do it. So I would take a drawing class in the morning for 4 hours, and then I would do an oil painting class in the afternoon for 4 hours. And I did that pretty much 5 days a week for 7-8 months. And it's nothing but drawing and painting. You walk into the classroom when it starts, set up your oil paint, a live model comes in, you do 1 week, 2 week poses for drawing and painting, and you just draw and paint. And then a teacher, a master painter will help you and guide you. It's not tutorial based, but he'll give you individual critiques and whatever. So that put me on a different level. Those 9-8 months helped me progress substantially. It was amazing. And I would be doing that more, but it's expensive to live in New York City. I live and am from Connecticut, where my studio is. And I would lose my studio if I kept on living in the city. So I came back because this is my dream to have. And so I'm here now. So that's the schooling. Now, motivation, inspiration, developing your own style. This is a very tricky one. I guess I do have a style. I don't consider myself to be a styled artist or have a style, but I do the crazy faces, the characters, the stencils, the floating faces, you could say, like my tattoos. I guess you could say that's my style. I don't think I'm as consistent as other artists. For example, Kipto and 1000. Amazing artists. I love their work. It's all subjective what you think about people's work. I happen to like both of them. And people love their work, I think, and people buy work like that or hire them because they have such a unique style that is unique to them. Over the course of many years, they've developed and had a large body of work that is all similar in how it's made, what it looks like, the aesthetic of it. So those are better people to talk about style, I think. But my one advice, I think, is to paint what you want. You know, this goes into the inspiration thing. Where do I get inspired? How am I inspired to come up with these characters? I just paint what I want to paint, and it's really that simple. There's an elf. I was like, oh, I love sci-fi. I love, you know, elves and goblins. So I drew an elf and I made it into a stencil. I love cyclopses. I love graffiti characters and that kind of thing. So I just do what I want to do. And I think if you do what you want to do, your artwork is more authentic. You'll have a better time making the work. And then over a long period of time, a style will develop naturally, if you know what I mean. Money, it's not something I love to talk about. I don't really like to talk about how much I sell my paintings for, you know, how much I charge for commission work. It's not something that I think a lot of people like talking about. Also, I don't like talking about the studio that I built. I know people think I'm super spoiled and rich, but you know, there's a lot of things about the studio and my situation that people don't know that is personal that I don't care to go into. But you know, I saved up, like I said, at a restaurant for a year and a half to put the down payment on this place. Probably put like $2,000 into renovations and all the things that were necessary, and then the monthly rent is a lot less than that. It might be less than you think because it's in a bad area of town. It's an old factory. We just made it look really nice. But as for paying for it monthly, you know, I do get big commissions every once in a while that I'm able to pay for this place for like 5 months at a time. I've gotten 2 in the past that are large. I do, you know, random graphic design work. I do videography work. I sell paintings. I sell originals, which are for more money, and then I sell for commission base, which is a little less. You know, I work in house painting, so all these things help me pay for it, but I'm not a full-time artist. You know, I'm trying to be, and actually in the last 6 months, I've gotten more money from art-related things that I ever have, so I think I'm transitioning to it, and it's been my dream, and it's taken me like 3 years as considering myself like an artist that's trying to monetize my craft till now to finally make money. If that makes sense, that's all I'm gonna really say about that. And so the last question that a lot of people ask in these comments, also DM me on Instagram, is I'm a beginner, I wanna take that next step. How do I get better at drawing? You know, what are the steps it takes? How do I get better? How do I improve? And you know, there's no real one clear-cut answer. I think that's obvious that everyone knows. There's strategies and, you know, techniques, and there's different paths you can go down, but there's no answer. But the way I kind of look at it, a nice analogy that I've said and I'll say it again, is painting and drawing. Learning to paint and draw is just like learning a sport or learning to speak a new language. Do you just wake up one day and know how to speak Japanese after reading a book? No, you learn words, you repeat the words over and over, you learn conjugation of verbs, you learn sentences and little phrases, and then you slowly start speaking with someone else to do basic conversations. And that all takes, you know, super long. It takes like months and months, and then maybe after a year of studying Japanese, you can do basic conversations, you know, or with a sport, you know, just step on the basketball court and know how to, you know, shoot a three-pointer perfectly, or dribble really technically, or, you know, all the positions and the different strategies for the positions, or same with soccer and dribbling, and the technique with kicking a ball and passing and when to do certain things. So it's all a flowing language that more and more experience and consistency helps you. So painting and drawing, you have to drill, you have to practice. Drawing circles, drawing cubes, repetition, drawing what you see, you know, waking up every morning or going to bed at night, drawing for an hour. You know, that's the basic advice. And I think a lot of people asking me, you know, maybe aren't willing to put in that work, and it takes a while, and it's a lot of work, and it's not fun, you know. You see me painting all these weird, crazy faces, and that's what you want to do, but you know, to arrive at one of these, it's a lot of sketching. It's years prior of practicing to be able to do that more easily. Do you know what I mean? So more legitimate versions of how to improve, there's a bunch of online classes. You know, there's anatomy books I have that I look at and practice. Like I said, I went to the art schools that really pushed me to another level within my own practice. But you know, I'm very self-taught, and I take pride in that, and art schools and online classes and teachers can only give you so much advice and show you so much. It's what you put in, and how much you're willing to work and be motivated and be inspired to improve and to fail and to experiment. So just get back to work, put in those hours, you know? That's all I got. This is just one mega rant, which I honestly love to do. I don't think people like listening to it, but I clearly love to talk and have issues with talking too much. But if you stayed to this end of the video, you're a hero and I love you, and you should comment "We Got Weird Together" in the comments, because then I know who stayed to the end. But you know, hopefully you enjoyed this Q&A and you learned more things about me and maybe other questions people had you wanted to know. It was really fun for me, honestly. I want to do more of these. I think anyone would like to answer questions about themselves. You know, it's almost a little egotistical, but it's good. I'm not excited to edit this video at all. But again, thank you for the people who watch these videos and support me. I love to do this. It's one of my deepest, most, you know, best passions in my life. I love it. That's all I got. We'll see you in the next video.